everyone, and welcome to Let's Talk Hearing. I'm Margaret Brack, audiologist and co-owner of London Audiology Consultants. Our theme for this year, 2020, is Hearing is a Family Affair. Now, we picked this theme at the end of 2019, never dreaming that a worldwide pandemic would happen and people would need to be staying at home for weeks on end. Hopefully, most of you are isolating with family so that you're not alone. In response to the need for social distancing, we are presenting these talks by video, and they will be available on our YouTube channel and on our website under the heading Let's Talk Hearing. Before we get started, I want to tell you that everyone here in our London Audiology Consultants family is safe and healthy. But in the meantime, please feel free to call us or to email, especially if you have any questions or concerns. We would love to hear from you. So again, from our London Audiology Consultants family to you and to your families, welcome and hello and welcome to Let's Talk Hearing. Today we are recording the talk that I gave on February 27th, 2020. My name is Margaret Brack. I'm an audiologist and co-owner of London Audiology Consultants here in London, Ontario. Today I will be talking about how to support someone with hearing loss. The talk is mostly addressed to family members, but we're talking about good communication skills which are important for everyone. So I hope everyone will pick up a few tips. I'd like to start with asking everyone a question. The question is, what is the most important thing in your life? When people think about that, usually they come back with family, friends, maybe going on nature hikes, things like that. But when you think about what's most important to us, it usually is other people. And how do we interact with those people? Well, it's through communication. So really the essence of what we need to do is communicate with the people that are in our lives. I'd like to read a quote. When someone in the family has a hearing loss, the entire family has a hearing problem. This was said by Mark Ross, who is an audiologist and also has a hearing loss. Prior to this, many audiologists focused very much on the hearing impaired person, which of course is very important. But now we realize that it's much more important to focus on the whole family. How does the person interact with their family? How does the family interact with them? And so we've expanded, and that's one of the reasons we've picked this topic for this year, is trying to draw family members into understanding a little bit more about what the hearing impaired person is living. So again, we're focusing on the whole family instead of just the one patient in isolation. So let's talk about some communication tips that will help the whole family. The first is clearer is better than louder. Please do not shout. Shouting actually distorts the voice and makes it even harder for the person to hear and understand what you're saying. Second is slowing down. Slowing down is much more important than shouting. And adding pauses to your speech gives the person with the hearing loss just time to process what you're saying and to think about what you're saying. Plus, by slowing down, it makes each word much clearer. The third one on this slide is to get closer. Especially when you're in background noise like a restaurant, getting close and facing the person that you're talking to improves the sound of your voice, and it allows the other person to lip read and see facial cues, which are all very important in helping with communication. Next is to get the listener's attention first before speaking. You can do that by saying the person's name, or if you're close by, even tapping them on the shoulder. By getting their attention, well, it's just a human thing that when you hear your name, you start to listen. And that will get the person to listen at the beginning of the sentence instead of listening and realizing you're talking at the end of the sentence. The next one is to think about your surroundings. And we all do it. We're all guilty calling somebody or saying something to somebody from another room. Voices are very distorted and actually very quiet by the time they reach the person wearing hearing aids. And they get much more distorted after they've bounced off walls, gone around corners, etc. And so a voice from another room is often very, very difficult to understand. Third here is turn down the TV or other loud music. Perhaps, if you don't have the opportunity to turn down these noises, then maybe move to a different room where it is quieter. Next is rephrase, don't repeat. Try to avoid saying the same thing over and over and over again. It's very frustrating for both parties, and very often the person just can't quite catch one important word in the sentence, and that's what makes it hard for them to understand, and they miss the whole sentence. So by saying the same thing a different way, it's very often, boom, the first time the person will catch what you're saying. Sometimes it's also important just to give context. Again, something else that we all do. We're thinking about something, so we start talking about it, and the other person has no idea what we're talking about. So giving them a little bit of context, like saying, oh, I'm talking about Justin Trudeau right now, that gives them the context, and then they will much easier clue into what you're saying. The next is to avoid one-word answers. If you were to say, yes, dear, I would love to do that, or no, I really don't want to, those are very, very clear. It's very easy to understand what you're answering. However, if you answer with yeah or nah, that's very hard to hear and to understand, especially if the person doesn't have the visual cues to know if it's a happy yes or a mad no. It's very, very difficult to catch it. When I gave this presentation in February, I turned around and I kind of said yeah or nah, and almost everybody in the audience did not hear what I said, and that's even with the microphone on. So at home with all the regular noises, it makes it very, very difficult. And again, the third on this is to watch for signs of fatigue. It's a very important concept for family members to understand. The person with the hearing loss is constantly, all day long, 24/7, trying to figure out what people are saying to them. They're doing this with limited information, and it takes a lot of brain power to do that. I try to give the example that it's similar to someone with, let's just normal hearing, trying to listen to somebody with a very heavy, unfamiliar accent. And you know how hard it is. You have to listen very carefully when you're listening to somebody with an accent. And that's what the hearing impaired person is doing every day, all day long. So it takes more brain power, and just that makes it more difficult to listen. I've had a number of my patients say to me that they hear much better in the morning than later in the evening. And the reason for that is by the end of the day, they're tired. So if you have to have a really important conversation, maybe save it for the morning and instead of last thing before bed. Next is, please be patient. When communication challenges pop up, remind yourself that it is frustrating for both parties. It sounds funny when I say this, but I'm going to say it. You have to remember that the hearing impaired person cannot hear what they cannot hear. And you might say, what does she mean by that? Well, let me give you an example. I think there's a double standard in that, would anyone tell a blind person to get new glasses? I don't think so. Well, telling a hearing impaired person to get new hearing aids or to just turn your hearing aid up is also not very helpful. And so keep in mind that if someone says, I'm sorry I didn't hear you, they really didn't hear you. Next is to encourage the person with hearing aids to wear them daily. It takes time for the brain to rewire, to learn to listen through the hearing aids, and it's especially important if they're brand new hearing aids or later in time when a person gets new hearing aids, like replacement hearing aids. For all of those situations, it takes time for the brain to rewire and get used to the new sound. So please try to be patient while the person is going through that. So in summary, remember, communication is a two-way street, and that's true for everyone. If you have hearing aids, please wear them. Try to wear them daily and have them checked once a year and cleaned professionally at least twice a year. If you don't wear hearing aids, don't ignore your own hearing. We recommend that everyone should have a baseline hearing test by age 50 and then every 5 years after that. And that's the end of today's session. I do want to let you know that our next session will be about how to be a hearing buddy. You can find that on our YouTube channel, and I'm going to ask you to please subscribe on our YouTube channel. If you do, then you will be notified when we do post new videos. So thank you for listening.